welcome back to the Magical Mystery School, and thank you so much for coming to our current events for June 27th. All right, so today we're going to be talking a lot about, July 4th, we're going to be talking about Uranus and Venus and Neptune going retrograde, but we'll also be looking at Mercury, who's our speedster, out there highlighting patterns for us to look at. And then we'll also be talking about the Saturn-Neptune partile. Remember, perfect means it's the same degree in the same minute. Partile just means they're at the same degree. And we'll be talking about the wobble a little bit more, an update there, and some tarot if we've got some time. So anyway, first off, let's go backwards. And we were talking about this yod that was happening because we had Saturn and Jupiter in sextile, water, earth, right? Mars has just gone into Virgo. Jupiter just went into Cancer. What that made was this is a 60-degree sextile, but both of these planets then we're making a 150-degree aspect, or a quincunx. It's also called an inconjunct. Both of these to Pluto. And the 150, Pluto's like at 3 degrees, so 30, 60, 90, 120, 150. And then 30, 60, 90, 120, 150. And these two that are in sextile, the Saturn and the Jupiter and the Mars, are kind of the tools to help us with this apex planet. Now, an inconjunct on its own, or quincunx, I'm probably just going to call them inconjuncts, is kind of a difficult, or just kind of it's a sore spot. I think of it like as a sore muscle. So it's not a real ouch, but it's uncomfortable and it can linger. And that's what we've got going on here. And that was kind of what I think was going on with these Uranian bombing attacks that we did this past weekend. Because this Mars and Jupiter, this can be in a sextile to one another, can be overconfident, can be, or misplaced confident. We think we can do anything, right? So we'll have to see how this really comes out. I mean, our orange one, he loves Putin, but Putin loves Iran. So he bombed Iran. I'm not sure what Putin's thinking about that. And Netanyahu, who? Yeah. Anyway, so this could have been, things have kind of gotten a little difficult for sure. I think we'll know when Putin's done with the orange one is when we see the golden showers tape. But anyway, before that, Yod went into effect. Oops. Back on the weekend before that, we literally had that G7 summit, and that was right when Jupiter first squared Saturn and then squared Neptune. And look at these are all on the world axis. 0 degrees Aries, practically 1, 2, same here with Jupiter on Cancer on this world axis. And when the baby got to the G7, oh, he wanted his daddy, he wanted Putin there so bad, and said, oh, we need to bring them back in and all this kind of stuff. And then Jupiter squared Neptune, and he just disappeared. He went away. He went home early. People weren't treating him right, I'm sure. Poor baby. But anyway, they were just probably glad to have him gone, right? So anyway, I thought that was kind of interesting with the Saturn, him being all, oh, we got to do this, we got to do that, and then he just left. Okay, perfect. Okay, now let's start looking at what's happening right now. Well, like I said, we're going to follow Mercury here because Mercury is showing us a pattern of aspects that I want you to keep in mind, because this is the way life's going to be here for a while here. Okay, so first off, and this was actually yesterday on June 26th, Mercury, that's right here at the end of Leo, sextiled, right at the end of Cancer, getting ready to go into Leo. I was thinking about Mars there. Sextile Uranus, which is like at 29 degrees Taurus, right? And Uranus is one of our outer planets, our generational planets. And here we've got Mercury sextiling it. Now, Uranus isn't quite into Gemini yet. So this sextile happened just as Mercury is leaving Cancer and going into Leo. Okay, so so this is really a sign of new ideas, tackling new problems. So even starting right now, you can start to like, oh my God, this has been a problem forever. You're going to get some good and new ideas, okay? And just remember, Uranus is going to go into Gemini on July 7th. So that is literally right around the corner. Now, we've also got the Sun coming along, who's, just went into Cancer on the solstice on the 20th. And so the Sun is actually following Jupiter here. So the Sun is sextiling Mars. And again, going to hook into this same yod that we had before, sort of reactivating that. So hopefully there's no more bombs. But we'll see what Iran does in response and all that kind of stuff. Now, of course, with the Mercury going into, and then on the 26th, Mercury's actually going to go into Leo that day. So talk about free speech, right? Leo can be very dramatic, very stubborn. They can be very proud too. And they want to be the expert at everything. But just remember, Mercury and Leo can kind of gloss over the details and like I said, be a little stubborn about things. So keep an eye out for that happening more and more as we go along here. I mean, it'll be still in effect here on the 27th too. But just remember, this could be real breakout information here with Mercury sextiling Uranus at that 29th anaretic degree, that critical degree there. Okay, oh, and also remember, Uranus is the higher octave of Mercury. And what that means is they both have very, very similar energies. It's just that Uranus is at a higher vibration than Mercury. That's why this is a more personal type planet, and this is a more collective type planet. Okay, then on the 27th today, Mercury is going to trine Saturn. And so whatever you say it with authority, right? Fire, fire. And just remember, all the elements, they'll always be trying each other. So if you've got something up here in early Sag, you're going to be hooking into a grand trine with this one. Okay, so we do want to, Mercury trine Saturn is very good for organization, serious thinking, concentrating. If you've got something that you really need to put your brain to, practical type work, this is the day to do it today. All right, the 27th. So then on the 28th, Mercury's going to slide a little further and trine Neptune. And that's what I mean about a pattern. Even though this is happening, sextile Uranus, trine Saturn, trine Neptune. This is going to be happening for the Sun soon here, okay? And then Venus is going to be coming in and activating all these same aspects. And of course, the Moon is zooming around. So just keep that in mind. It's going to be Uranus, Saturn, Neptune, Pluto, and then Jupiter. Okay, so that's going to be kind of a pattern here. Okay, so let's get back. Okay, on the 28th, Mercury trines Neptune. So this is where we can really let our imagination go. We can kind of feel a little sensitive, a little mystical, spiritual. Now this is a trine, so it's going to be, the 28th, I think, is a Saturday. Yeah, tomorrow. So take some time for yourself. Really relax and enjoy yourself a little bit. So this reality, imagination is going to be something that's going to be kind of a pattern. Like I said, we're going to be going through this several times. Okay, then on the 29th, Mercury's going to oppose Pluto. All right. And this is about 3 degrees, 10 minutes, so still very, very early. But Mercury opposing Pluto, this is when we can really get to the bottom of things. If you've got a problem, this is the time to really try to figure out what's going on. Now, if it's with somebody else, you can really have a battle of wills, because Pluto is, all that, obsessive compulsive type energy. So if you're having difficulties with somebody else, this might not be the best day to really hash it out, because you both might just get so stubborn. Fixed air, fixed fire, and you might not be able to get your way out of it. But for an interior, something that you're doing on your own, this will be a great day to really go inside. Oh, and just also to, I know I keep saying this, but just to remind you, Mercury will be going retrograde on July 18th. So, so here we go. So that's here's our new pattern, right? It's going to be Uranus, Saturn, Neptune, Pluto, Jupiter. That's going to be activated kind of in one big swoop here. And thank you, Mercury, for showing us that. Okay, now the other thing I really want to point out here are all these sextiles. We've got, remember, the Mars, Jupiter, and the Sun is coming in to sort of boost all this. So, or to repeat, I should say, that same energy. But we've got the Saturn, Jupiter, Saturn, Sun, Mars, Jupiter, Mars, Sun sextile. Okay, Earth, water. Then we've got this sextile, fire, and we're going to put, Uranus is almost in Gemini, fire, air. Then we've got this one, air, fire. And now we've got this one, air, fire, air. So look at sextile, 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 sextile. That's crazy, man. And look at this. So remember that this is a signature of the architect. When we have two opposing planets, so remember Mercury and Pluto opposed one another. And then on the sextile, see, there's that Uranus. So that's even more potent. And if we flip this thing, that same opposition, here we've got this sextile, okay? Can you see that? How the Pluto's sextiling that beginning of Aquarius down to the beginning of Aries and then the beginning of Leo. Whoa, pretty crazy. Okay, so what we've got with all these sextiles is we're getting very close to having a Star of David in our wheel. So think about that. That's the two trions, one pointing up and one pointing down. So here you can see Pluto, Saturn, Neptune, Uranus, and Leo. And then eventually Mars is, when Mars gets up into Leo, it's going to keep completing that. So that's actually a very beautiful and very fortuitous signature to have in our charts right now. Okay. So let's see. Okay, so next, let's move on to July 4th, and that's going to be next Friday, but I'm going to go ahead and introduce it so that you'll start to get an idea, get ready for your holiday here. So the day is going to start really early at 5:46 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time. We're going to have Venus come in and make a conjunction with Uranus, okay? It's still in Taurus. Remember, it doesn't get into Gemini yet until July 7th. But this is gonna be super social and cool. We're gonna have a great 4th of July. I mean, the only difficulty is because Uranus is the ruler of Aquarius. They have kind of the same feel to them. But both of the sign and the planet can be kind of not too much into romantic love, more of a brotherly love, friendship, sibling type relationship. So if you do meet someone really exciting and that kind of thing, kind of give it a day or so, sleep on it. I don't mean sleep with it, I mean sleep on it, and see if you feel the same the next day, because this could be just a one-day thing too, but you never know. And we could have some disruptions, just maybe some couple we find out publicly is splitting up or something. Or it could be disruptions with our money too, because remember, Venus rules finances also. Okay. Then 3 hours later, Venus moves into Gemini. All right. So that's going to be a lot of fun. Mutable air with Venus in there. We're going to be talking. And this can be a kiss and tell. So watch out. You know, Venus loves to tell her stories. So we could actually meet this person like the evening of July 3rd, and then by the next day, we're like, I don't know. Doesn't sound too cool to me, right? I'm going to move on to some other relationship. Then at 2:44 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time, Neptune up here at 2 degrees 11 minutes is going to go retrograde. So it's going to start back towards that 0 degrees Aries. So the wobble is beginning. Now, I wanted to show you these guys one more time, or another time, I should say. I don't know whether it'll be one more. Oh, that's actually too big. Okay, I didn't realize that would be that long. Okay, I'll move it. Okay, so this, I made these sheets. Each one of these is for a planet. And you can see I went through all the when a planet went direct, and when it, here's that July 7th coming up, Uranus going into Aries, and then here's its pattern over the next until April 27th, and that's going to be when the wobble's gone over. Oh, and I should mention again when the what the wobble means. What I just made that up. What the wobble is basically saying, like Pluto here wobbled in 2024. So it went from Capricorn to Aquarius, back and forth on its retrograde. And, you know, these planets go retrograde all the time, but they don't necessarily go retrograde over house cusps. And we have that with Pluto. We're going to have both Saturn and Neptune are going to wobble again over that 0 Aries point. We're going to have Uranus wobbling over the Gemini from Taurus to Gemini. We already had Mars wobble back and forth from Cancer to Leo. Jupiter is going to go retrograde, but it's going to be firmly in Cancer, so it's not going to wobble over a house cusp. It's just going to do its regular retrograde. And Venus and Mercury, they both wobbled over that 0 Aries right at the beginning of the year, if you remember that. So that's what these sheets are. Just so I'm going to hold these up, and if you want to take a screenshot, you're welcome to. Oh, and I should also mention, okay, you've probably had time to do that. We'll just do these two are together. We'll let you take a picture of those if you like. Just to also let you know, I screwed up the first time I showed you this. I put September 2nd for Saturn going back into Pisces, and I put September 2nd for Neptune too. So it's actually October 22nd. So this is correct. So feel free to change that. But I got to thinking about it, and I thought, you know, for what's coming up here, let's just get a whole list, right, of what we've got going on here. And I put this Pluto, because even though Pluto's not wobbling, just to remind you that Pluto's sitting up here at between 1 and 4 degrees for the rest of the year, basically. Okay. All right, so this is the rest of the wobble here. And I think I think you can see that pretty good. So here we are. I just started with July 4th, what we got coming up with Neptune going retrograde. And then, as I've been saying, Uranus goes into Gemini the 7th, the 13th. This is when Saturn goes retrograde at just about 2 degrees Aries. Then nothing much happens in August. But the main reason, or one of the main reasons I'm showing you this, is I want you to see what's going to go on this fall, because we could get a little bit of a feeling like, been there, done that, why aren't we moving forward, that kind of thing. Because right now, we've got Saturn, Neptune, and Aries, brand new over that world, that zero world axis point. We've got Pluto really just getting used to being in Aquarius. Uranus into Gemini, Jupiter into Cancer. All the biggies have changed signs. So it's almost like we're looking at the future right now. So this is a time, July and August, make your manifestations for what you want to happen in 2026 down here. What you want to happen like in a year. How do you want the world to be? Do you want there to be, any more wars? I mean, I don't understand how killing people helps anything. But anyway, don't get me started. But really think about, what is you want your life to look at? And remember stepping stones. Don't think if you're living in an apartment month to month right now, don't think about your $2 million home that you want to get next year. Think about how you're going to make your steps to those things and that sort of thing. Be realistic. Be Saturn, even though you're going to throw a little Neptune in there too and get a little woo-woo. Okay, so really, what do you want to manifest? Where do you want to be in a year? Because, look at here, this is what happens. September 2nd, Saturn goes back into Pisces, what we're in right now. The 6th, Uranus goes retrograde at about 1.5 degrees Gemini. October 22nd, Neptune goes back into Pisces. So remember, when these two planets go back into Pisces, they're going over that zero, that world axis point. There. Okay. Okay. Then November 7th, Uranus goes back into Taurus, where it is now. A little, not having that much fun in Taurus. Then on November 28th, Saturn goes direct. Yes, it's in Pisces, but it's starting that direct motion. We're going to start to feel a little, we can go forward. We can have nice things. I think September, October, and the most of November, we're going to feel maybe, like I said, deja vu. Haven't we done this before? Can't I get out of this quicksand? What's going on here? So, and that's the beauty of astrology. Yes, we can kind of see these rough patches, but we can see, Saturn goes direct. Neptune goes direct. Only 7 minutes to get it back into Aries? January 27th, Neptune goes into Aries for the next 14 years. Uranus goes direct February 3rd. The 15th, Saturn, that is now direct, goes back into Aries. So again, we're going forward. We can do new things. And then April 27th, Uranus goes into Gemini for the next 7 years. Saturn, 2.5 years into Aries. So here, that's the end of the wobble. So just be prepared, you guys, that as I was looking at that, this fall may get a little bit, kind of be a little bit of a downer at times, but just hang in there. It's going to be okay. And I put these on in here just to remind you, just to let you know. Mercury goes retrograde July 18th to the 11th from all in Leo here. And then, as long as I was writing this stuff up, what the heck. Mercury, just for your info, does do a retrograde again in November of this year, early Sag into Scorpio. But we'll go over that more when the time comes. All right. So, I wanted to go over that, and I think I'm doing okay. So I wanted to mention these tarot cards, because I forget them sometimes. Okay. All right, I'm going to try something new. All right, this is the tarot key that represents Pisces. And I know it's called the moon, so you may be thinking, see, I think if I block out that back. There we go. Okay. Here we see the moon, and this is the, the final sign of the zodiac. So our consciousness has been all the way around the wheel, and here we are crawling out of that cosmic goo or plasma that it's better known as. And here's our consciousness getting ready to go up the yellow brick road here. That's what the guy who wrote The Wizard of Oz, rumor was he was an occultist. So I always think of that yellow brick road when I see that in the tarot cards. So we make it through the grass and the plants, and here we've got the natural dog, wolf, and here we've got the human influenced dog, and the path goes up and down, up and down. We make it through the entry gates, and the hermit is up there on the peak shining its light on us, the phases of the moon. But this card is also of lunacy, right? Of just pure craziness. I mean, we've got 1 foot in one world and 1 foot in the other world, and sometimes we can get a little crazy woo-woo out there. So that's the Pisces card. And remember, it's also at night, so we can't see things quite like we'd like to. And then Aries is, the key for Aries is the Emperor. There we go. Okay, yeah, I think this might be working better. Okay, so, and of course we can see here's the rams and on his throne. He's even got a little glyph of Aries up on his crown, bejeweled crown here. But he's not in the dark. He's out in the broad sunlight. He's got the orb and the ankh in his hand, the orb of earth, that sort of thing. And, it was so cool when when the queen passed away, not too long ago. On her coffin was an orb, a crown, and the ankh. I couldn't believe that. It was so cool to see that. All right, so let's see. Oh, so when we look at the Emperor, he's definitely still ready for war, right? He's got his armor on and everything, but he's got his red cape on. Red is the color for Aries. Oh, he's got I've never noticed that. There's another ram up on his shoulder there. The stream of consciousness, he's even up above that. He's seeing everything. So that's our Emperor card. So, and why I like to show you these is because you can learn so much, and that's why I want to show you these wheels too. There's part of your brain that doesn't even understand my words, but they understand these pictures perfectly. So anyway, I think I've gone on way too long enough as always. And thank you so much for coming here. And just remember, from there to here, from here to there, funny things are everywhere. Bye. See you next week.